Well, good morning. I'm Sundeep. Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm excited to be back. Almost 10 years since I was at Wemba. Thanks to Steve for setting this up. Thanks to Wharton for hosting it. I want to introduce a couple of people who are joining us this morning. The first one is Zach Perry. Zach is a veteran of investment management for 20 years. He runs a investment management firm in Marin, which is north of San Francisco. And he's sort of seen my journey in finance back when I was in industry and then through Wharton, and then in equity research. So it's great to have him here. And then Aiden Collins, who is an entrepreneur now, but after a very successful career in consulting.
I wanted to just say a couple quick words. So thank you guys for showing up. Unfortunately, sorry, a lot of your classmates we got derailed on the way here, but sorry, we had about 12 people that signed up. So Sundeep, thanks for making the time to come out. Sundeep is and other members of his class from class 31 are here to talk about equity research from a technology standpoint. You'll hear more about Sundeep's background, the transition from technology at Intel, was here as an engineer at Intel, through the program. I think right after graduation, you joined Morgan Stanley, Jefferies. He's now a consultant, author, good perspective from both the sell and buy side of equity research. So I look forward to hearing your insights. So thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for the intro. Thanks for hosting me. Thanks to Wharton again. So Zach and I and Aiden were part of the same study group at Wharton back 10 years ago. So on this slide, in addition to Wharton and Wine Street, which is Zach's firm, I want to thank a few other people for supporting my consulting activities since I left the sell side last year. We'll talk about that a little bit. Sentio is a very interesting fintech startup based here in San Francisco. And I think they're in a very good position to disrupt the stock market data service market. I've been using their software, a lot of the charts in this presentation, as well as in my book, which we'll talk about a little later. Actually, all of that data comes from Sentio. So, and then Counterpoint Technology Market Research is based in Hong Kong. They're a high-quality industry research shop that I am collaborating with, among other people, to develop custom reports on specific topics. So one of the topics I'm working on right now is self-driving cars. And then InSpectrum is another industry research firm based in Taiwan. They specialize in semiconductors, whether it's memory semiconductors, or foundry, and various types of components. So they advise people, all the large tech companies here in the Bay Area, as well as worldwide. So all these firms have been supportive of my work. So the objective today is very simple. I want to give you a perspective of equity research, kind of from my lens as a technology analyst. So much of the discussion here is focused on the technology space. But I do think it is kind of applicable to other areas, but I'll leave that judgment to you. Also through my lens as a career changer from the tech industry to finance. So I thought perhaps that might be interesting to some of you. And then, in the latter part of the discussion, I want to shift into kind of the work I'm doing, tell you more about the different activities I'm involved in right now, and basically see, what areas I might be of help to you guys as you consider your next steps. So this is, again, my view of the financial services industry, specifically investment management. I haven't put any specific sources here, honestly, because I don't know that there's a specific source that's good enough, or at least that I found good enough to call out. But big picture, I think we might be in early stages of what I would call the secular disruption, driven by technology of financial services. So anything that can be automated is probably going to be automated. Not just for cost reasons, but also potentially for performance reasons. So we'll talk about that on one of the slides. But what I think that does structurally is it shifts the industry more towards active management, in the sense that people who are actively doing research, finding out ideas that are mispriced, and then making investments in those ideas, and then charging a management fee for that. Okay, and I think the majority of the industry, again, from my lens, within the area of technology, I think does very little independent work that drives their investments. There's a lot of marketing involved, there's a lot of product proliferation involved, but there isn't necessarily as much independent alpha generating research that's powering those activities. Okay, so again, this is my view as a technology analyst speaking with hundreds, if not thousands, of clients worldwide for the last decade. Okay. So as a result of this, what is going on is, I think, two trends. You can sort of judge based on your own independent research which trend is stronger or not. But you see two types of institutions actually growing fast, and for a very good reason. One is the smaller independent asset managers, and I think Zach is a great example. He's been very successful in a very short time, and I'm sure that will continue. So he's probably a good resource for you to follow up on that in addition to me. And then the second category is what is called robo-advisors. So this is effectively machines disintermediating humans to make investment recommendations. In fact, managing entire portfolios. I don't want to mention names of specific companies, but if you just search on robo-advisors, you will hit upon 2 or 3 companies. I think a couple of them are based right here in the Bay Area. And they have been growing their assets under management very, very quickly. And a lot of that, I think, is coming out of the pockets of the larger institutional managers. So these would be mutual funds, as we know them. These would even be hedge funds that haven't necessarily done so well recently. So that's what I mean by disruption. It's a slow process, but that's the general direction of the industry. So I think what that does is like I said, it sort of pushes the industry more and more towards active investing, which for me is sort of synonymous to value investing. So I have a pretty broad definition of value investing. It's not a new concept, right? It's been around nearly 100 years. And every practitioner of value investing has their own interpretation and perspective. So what you will, of course, hear about is my perspective of value investing. The fundamental concept is very simple. It's not necessarily easy to accomplish. So that sort of brings us into really, what is equity research, at least within the value perspective. And I think as we go through this, you will realize pretty quickly that value is pretty broad. So in fact, anyone who really wants to invest is really thinking about value investing, whether they realize it or not. And so the premise of equity research is, you're trying to find out, estimate, right? There's no fixed value. You're trying to estimate the intrinsic value of a given investment, a given stock. And that's usually not a single point estimate. That's usually a range. It may even be multiple ranges, depending on the different scenarios that you're trying to cover. And once you have that range of intrinsic value for different conditions, then you're comparing that with the current price of the security in the market, the current price that the stock is trading at. And if the stock is trading at a significant discount to that intrinsic value, then there is potential for what is referred to as margin of safety. So margin of safety is this sort of holy concept in value investing. Very few people actually understand how that is generated, because if you understood how to drive and generate margin of safety, then you would be a very successful value investor. And there's very few of them who are successful, but they're very successful. So we're talking about people like Warren Buffett, Ben Graham, Sid Klarman, people like that. Why are they successful, right? Simple concepts, applied extremely well, tremendous success. So a lot of the effort here for me is to create a process to implement and execute value investing, specifically within the technology industry. And that I think is very unique and interesting, because if you go back and look at the books and the materials published on value investing, I don't think you will hit on anything that is necessarily focused specifically in the tech space. Okay? Tech has traditionally been viewed as very difficult as investments because it changes very quickly. And so the traditional value managers have sort of dodged tech as an industry because they don't understand as much about it, which means they have more difficulty estimating the intrinsic value, which means if you're honest to yourself, you just want to avoid that type of an investment, which is what they have done. So this is another perspective which goes back to kind of where I started on the industry view and the disruption that I think is in process at a very slow rate, but it could accelerate, who knows. And what this slide is trying to do is give you a perspective or differentiate between what I would consider analysis versus insight. Okay? Analysis is everywhere. If you put a person and a computer together, connect them to the internet, you will get analysis. Okay? You'll get lots of analysis. The more time that person spends doing that type of thing, that person's going to fill up an entire room of analysis. The question is, how much of that analysis is actually useful and commercial from an investment perspective? And I think that's kind of the insight part of the analysis. So if you start from the top, basically there's an entire layer, and you can sort of judge how big that layer is. I think that layer is fairly big. I might even put it, more than half the market if I was asked. That actually gets away without doing really any research. Okay, now it's shocking. It might be shocking to a lot of you, but this is something I have witnessed personally over the years, and I was dying to write about it. Right? So I think basically those are the types of individuals and firms who are not really doing a lot of work. They're just raising assets, and because it's easy to raise assets, it's easy to sell an idea to a consumer, to an individual investor. And by the time one idea fades, it's just as easy to create a second idea, to have them shift over. So before sort of people figure out exactly what you're doing, they're on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, right? So this is how the industry sort of continues to evolve. And individuals always feel like there's something not right about the whole thing, but they can't really put their finger on it because, well, they don't have time. Everyone's busy, working and generating money. Very few people are actually focused on managing that money, right? So that I think is where the machines will take the first bite, and they are taking the first bite right now. And if you are following developments in machine learning and deep learning and cloud computing, then I think you can sort of extrapolate that to see what might happen in the future, where more of the portfolio allocation, more of the analysis of investments, to the extent that you can do those things just based off of financial statements and data available on the internet, then you can relegate that to a machine, right? So that should be easy. There's a whole other category of people which I put under macro, that's kind of your quantitative funds. Anyone who's trying to interpret what the supply-demand dynamics are in the stock, some people think of it as technical analysis. There's a whole range of variations around this that I'm not even familiar with all the different types of it. But that's kind of what that bucket contains. A lot of that is, again, computerized because it's very hard for any individual to sift through all that vast amount of information that exists out there that needs to be processed. So I would sort of put that in there. And then as you descend, the next step, the microeconomic analysis is kind of more of the company-specific work that's when you start to get into value investing, where you're trying to find out what's going on with a specific company, what's going on with the industry that the company operates in, what are the dynamics, and what is the intrinsic value of that company given those dynamics. And given that intrinsic value, where does it make sense to buy into shares of that company. Okay, so that's where that process starts. And then as you get deeper into that, you increasingly are in a territory that machines probably cannot touch, at least for a while. And I don't want to say never, but you're sort of in this area where you're driving a lot of human intuition, human interpretation into the process that makes it difficult for anyone to automate that. So that's over here now. Yeah, Steve.
So maybe this isn't the right slide to ask this question. You're going to get to this, but it was interesting. I was at the Capital Summit. You're right. Last week, and somebody made a bold statement in one of the early panels saying, in 10 years we won't need analysts at all. Yeah. That's coming up. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, that's what this is trying to hint at. Please.
At the top portion where the majority says no analysis, what were some of the funds that machines are starting to take over that were?
Well, so I don't want to name specific names. I think if you're familiar with the broader sort of private wealth management industry, for example.
Yeah.
Okay. If you look into that stuff, you're going to find that there are individuals that are coming straight out of college. I mean, I'm talking about 25-year-olds that are making phone calls by the hundreds every day and driving assets. How much intelligence do you think a 25-year-old has on average, not having been in finance through their education, to recommend investments to whoever, whether it's a high net worth, sophisticated individual or somebody else who's more on the average? Very little, right? So I think, but these are the managers that have charged fees anywhere from 200 basis points to 350, 400 basis points. That's 4%. Okay. And that's still happening today. And increasingly, what you're starting to see is people question those types of fees. And this type of stuff starts to happen when the market isn't doing so well, or if it's not going up. When the market's going up, everyone's happy. You tend not to check your portfolio out. But in the last 6 months, we've sort of had a few ups and downs, and that's caused people to take a harder look at, so what exactly is happening with my assets? And what am I paying for, and why am I paying for that? So that's where it starts. But then there's, if you go again, if you do a search, you'll find there's a lot of mutual funds that aren't necessarily beating the market, but they are charging you a fee. And depending on which fund it is, that could be anywhere from 50 basis points to 200 basis points. Right? So again, depending on if it's a specialized sector, whether it's US, whether it's international, a number of different excuses for why the fees might be high or low. Right? Now, again, as people start to question that, and sometimes people don't have options. Like if you're in a 401k in your corporation, you may have 5 funds to choose from, right? And they might all be mutual funds because that company struck a deal with your company to offer that. And so you don't have a choice. It's just that's all you got to invest in. But if you have a choice, then you're going to try to make the most of it.
I guess, so when I think of like the majority, like big mutual fund companies, I think of, San Mateo, Franklin Templeton, Fidelity.
Yeah.
You said it was shocking with how much non-analysis they were doing, but having these big assets. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, I think, let's take a specific example, right? So I think it's easy to get lost in generalities. I think if you take a specific example, if you're investing in a tech company, pick any tech company, Google, Amazon, Facebook, right, Intel, whatever. And if you're following an active management type of discipline where you're doing fundamental analysis, so what does that mean? So that means you understand what this company makes. You understand what this company's economics are, on the manufacturing side, on the revenue side. You understand this company's strategy. You understand what industry this company participates in, who they compete with. You understand some of the undercurrents of the different technologies, so if it's semiconductors and what's happening to manufacturing costs going forward. Now, that's the assumption. Okay, so your investment manager who's saying that they're investing in tech is basically implicitly saying that they understand all of these things so that they are able to calculate the intrinsic value of those securities and place your assets into undervalued securities all the time. If you're a technology professional and you start to challenge that, very soon you're going to find that they're not necessarily capable of identifying such mispricing for every technology company simply because they don't necessarily have the expertise to understand what's happening in the technology space. Right? So when I was in the technology industry, I always felt like this. I never really had a way or a framework to analyze that. But when I was on the sell side, it became pretty clear to me. This is why you have big swings in the market, because you have a set of people that are impacting the stock price, and a set of people who think that think and sell to you that they're doing fundamental analysis, but in reality they aren't doing it. And worse, they couldn't do it if they wanted to, because they just don't have the necessary skills. Right? So again, I think hopefully, does that answer your question?
It does.
Yeah, okay, good.
So you're essentially just saying, in the technology industry, fundamental analysis is very hard. Very few big asset managers, well-known asset managers today, with all their 100 people, research analyst departments, do this analysis very well.
We'll go through that, and I think it will start to become more clear, because this is the core theme here. Because you're doing value investing, you're doing equity research, you're doing fundamental analysis, and you start to apply that to a specific sector. And you're like, wait a second, don't I need to know more about this industry? Don't I need to know what they make, what their product cycles are, what their manufacturing trajectory is? Don't I need to know that stuff? And then you're like, okay, wait a second, how do all these people know? Well, they're looking at the same information that is available to everyone. It's public. So what information advantage do they have? Zero, technically. So why will they outperform? Right? So I think as you start to ask the questions, you start to get into this maze of more questions. And basically what you start to realize is, oh, wait a second, these guys might not necessarily be doing the work that they are, or if they are, they might not be doing it the right way. All right, so that, I think, is a nice shift into the next slide, which is this concept of beating the market. Everyone likes to beat the market, right? But I think if you think about that for a second, what does that mean? If you're beating the market, by definition, you're doing something that's different from the market, whether it's in terms of the specific stocks or securities that you're holding, or your approach to identifying those securities and the duration for which you hold those securities. Because if you start with the extreme case that you're holding all the securities that are in the market, then you're effectively holding an index fund. So by definition, you're going to perform in line with the market, right? Now on the other extreme, if you're only holding one stock, then, well, good luck, because depending on the fundamentals of that company, there will be a certain inherent amount of volatility generated by that investment. And that one company may not do well all the time. So you don't really know if it's going to outperform, underperform. That could change over time, right? So I think that composing the right portfolio with the right set of alpha generating, value generating investments that outperform the market fundamentally requires you to do things differently than what the broader market participants are doing. If everybody is doing the same thing, the end result is the same. Right? This is what Einstein said back then, right? It's insanity is basically doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. It's basically, if all the analysts that are investing in the tech space are all attending the same conferences, they're going to the same analyst days, they're reading the same transcripts, they're processing the same financial statements, they're talking to the same sell-side analysts, and they're running into each other in meetings and asking the same questions, what do you think they're going to end up with as a whole? The same answers. Right? So how do you differentiate? And if you can differentiate, how do you outperform? Okay? So what this slide starts to deconstruct a little bit is that concept of outperformance. So you start with this idea that to outperform, you have to be different. Okay, so how can you be different? Well, there are 4 ways you can be different. And it turns out, as you look at this, that 3 out of the 4 are actually behavioral. Okay, so I don't know if there's an elective now at Wharton for behavioral, but if there is, then I would highly recommend it. 10 years ago, Zach said that's what he was interested in, and I didn't understand why. Okay, now I do. So, longer time horizon. You can do a search yourself online. There's a range of different estimates. Again, I don't want to quote anyone specifics. But you're going to find that the average holding period for stocks now is anywhere from a few days to a few weeks. That's the average holding period for a stock in the entire market. So one potential way to beat the market is hold your positions for longer than the market does. Right? That's investment horizon arbitrage. The other thing is emotional control. And that's going to sound very loosey-goosey, but it's actually very, very important. And it sort of builds on the longer term horizon aspect. Because effectively now you're saying, how do I keep my emotions in check without actually dismissing my instincts? You want to actually keep your instincts around and you want to use them and capitalize on them without succumbing to your emotions. How in the world do you do that? Right? That's the hard part of this. Now, one way to do that potentially is to have a process. And process discipline is something you can fall back on when you have an emotion attack. And that's something that you could use to navigate your way out of that emotional situation. So that's number 2. There's a whole science around that. Okay, so there's a ton of activity there. I do think that over time, if you consciously practice these things and are aware of your own deficiencies, then there's a chance that you can improve. So it's not something that's not manageable if you're aware of it. And then the third thing is institutional arbitrage. Actually, this is a new term for me, even though a lot of the concepts have been in play from my perspective. And this institutional arbitrage starts to get into the discussion we had earlier around mutual funds and some of the other market participants that are beholden to some of the promises that they might be making. Right? One of the promises that is made most commonly by these funds, implicitly or explicitly, is around short-term performance. Right? And this goes back to the psychology of the individual investor. Every individual is different. But on average, the way these funds are marketed is with an implicit assumption that the customer, the client, you, individual, are very interested in seeing your portfolio appreciate every single day, every single week, month, year. And anytime there's a period when your portfolio is actually below the market, it's underperforming, that from the manager's perspective, there's elevated risk that you're going to take your assets and take them somewhere else. Guess where you're going to take them? You're going to take them to the other manager who just outperformed. And is set up to underperform going from there. Right? So, if that's what the large institutions are doing, as a smaller investor, whether individual or asset manager, you want to take the other side of it. You want to hold your positions longer. You want to identify ideas that these large institutional managers are going to struggle to hold, even if they figure out that there's a lot of value in these investments. Right? So there's a company with a lot of hair on it in the sense that there are lots of problems, it's going through some transformations, it's subject to some cyclical dynamics. It's almost guaranteed that there's going to be volatility in pricing of that security. So for most asset managers, they're going to say, okay, I don't want to touch this because I don't want to find that after having a large position in the security that my portfolio has suddenly underperformed dramatically in the next 3 months, and that drives increased redemptions of assets under management. That's a very, very bad thing for the fund, right? So their design is going to be, okay, I don't want to touch this security, even though I know, intellectually, honestly, I know that this is what I should be holding with a long-term horizon. So then I, as an individual investor or an investment manager, can come and say, okay, I know you're not going to be able to hold this. I can't. I don't have any clients, or at least I don't have clients that are going to behave in that fashion. And if I have that confidence, I can do institutional arbitrage. Okay? So again, behavioral stuff. And then the last one is actually very interesting, and this is again something we touched on, which is proprietary insights. And there's actually a slide where I talk a little bit more about specifically what that means. But this is where I think there is opportunity for a lot of alpha generation if you have the right industry background and if you're able to channel it in a way to identify profitable investments. Because this is a missing piece. This is not easy to find. Right? The average investor, to just take technology as an example, the average investor, by definition, doesn't know a whole lot about technology. Right? So how do you take advantage of that? And so there is a process, I think, that can be used systematically to leverage what you know within the legal context, and we'll talk about that in a second, to generate that alpha. So this I thought would be an interesting slide. Yeah, please.
If I can make a comment, would I be accurate in those areas you mentioned about the capital markets dynamics, that essentially capital markets have become this kind of massive holding bank for wealth, whereupon alpha generation is the opportunities for alpha generation is very small. Actually, let me think a little bit more. I'm thinking too much out loud.
Sure. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, please.
Could you explain what you mean by institutional arbitrage again?
Yeah, institutional arbitrage is doing things differently than the large institutions and exploiting their weaknesses. So if large institutions, you know from your industry background that large institutions, say mutual funds, can't hold a particular security even though it is dramatically overvalued within your analysis, then that's a perfect place for you to get in early and hold that security and wait for it to appreciate with a very, very patient approach. Because you know that as soon as that security turns around and establishes a relatively obvious uptrend, those same institutional managers that didn't touch it previously are going to start to chase it now.
This is based on the behavior,
Yes.
collective behavioral
Yes.
patterns of the bigger holders.
That's right.
And you're going to talk about having an algorithm to do those arbitrage?
Yes, I mean, and all of those things, all those things are accomplished through this disciplined process of equity research. Okay, we're trying to skin the different perspectives on why equity research is useful.
Yeah.
Right? There's a whole behavioral argument which is actually pretty large, unusually large. That's not something I expected going into the industry. And I don't think most people realize that. And then there's an element of proprietary work, and this is how you differentiate. And if you differentiate, you have a chance to outperform. If you don't differentiate, then your ability to generate alpha is basically didn't exist to begin with.
I think I got my idea.
Yeah.
I'm coming from the perspective that capital markets was created to be this efficient capital allocator to the best businesses,
Yeah.
and allow a lot of stakeholders to be a part of this value creation. But what you're saying from your, and I do agree with you, that due to these dynamics you just mentioned, the best businesses sometimes are not allocated, or the best opportunities or best projects or businesses are not allocated that capital based off of money managers,
right.
business itself.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think that's a nice way to say it. I think that you see this everywhere. I think for me it's been more obvious in the financial industry, watching specific stocks, how they trade, and reactions. So, as part of my job, basically I was generating equity research, and it doesn't stop there. You go and engage with the big funds worldwide, and you have a debate. This is what I think. This is what I think it's worth. What do you think it's worth? And so you get a very nice way to exchange ideas and refine your thought process. It's a very privileged role, I think, from that perspective, where I had a chance to interact with hundreds, if not thousands of people who were all analyzing the same set of securities and arriving at different conclusions. And invariably, my discussions used to be filled with debate, right? And they used to run over time, and they used to be filled with debate. I'm like, okay, this is great. You're adding some value because you're coming from a perspective which, for me, is more or less what I would call a consensus view. And here's what I've come up with based on my industry work. and clearly you're very far away. So, so that's, you start to see where you make a difference through analysis. So here, I think is probably a very interesting slide if you've taken some of the earlier classes here at Wharton. What I think this slide is trying to accomplish. It's a little nuanced. Hopefully, it's not too complicated. Certainly not something this crowd can't handle. It's trying to deconstruct a view of risk into its different components. And down below, you will see volatility, which I'm sure you recognize as sort of the academic definition of risk. And then there's like 3-4 other things on top of it, which I think make the picture complete from a risk standpoint. So if you start from the top, if you're doing fundamental analysis, if you're doing equity research, if you're extracting proprietary insights, then what you're doing is fundamental analysis. And that's your value generation mechanism. There are 2 things there. One is analyzing the business and the industry. The second is valuation. There are two sort of related but slightly different things. And you could have a very strong understanding of the business, but you could have a very distorted view of valuation, and you will not be able to realize your investment returns because of that, right? A lot of times, you look at, again, the big, exciting companies, just take, again, the FANG companies as they're called, the Facebook, Amazon, Netflix. They're very attractive, right? So as an amateur or even as a professional, you start to say, oh, wait a second, these guys are going to take over the world. So what price should they trade at? What price should I buy them at, right? And if you can hold your ground and say, okay, I'm not going to buy them until they hit this level, because this is what I think they offer maximum margin of safety, then that's one way to realize your investment returns. If you're buying them at a price that everybody else is buying them, then all of the excitement that you worked up for yourself is not unique. Everyone else shares the same excitement, which means that's already reflected in the price. And you just overpaid for something that was a fad, right? So your chance of generating an outsized return on that purchase price is diminished right from the get-go. So that's something that you want to avoid. And so that's an important part of risk, and that's included in our valuation. Business model is just what it sounds like. You either understand the business model or you don't. That's part 1. Part 2 is you have to figure out how the business model might change within the industry context. In the tech industry especially, companies are innovating really fast, and business models tend to change over periods of 5 years, 10 years, right? So it's not one of those things where you say, oh, this is what this company is today, and this is what it's going to be 10 years from now. You can never really sleep on that, right? So you could make a mistake there where you haven't done sufficient analysis of where companies are headed, where the industry is headed, or you might overpay for all the good stuff that you thought you identified. So that's in the first bucket. That's fundamental risk in your investment. The next bucket is what's called agency risk, and this goes back to what we talked about, institutional arbitrage a little bit, because what you're saying there is, do you have the ability to execute to your stated investment strategy, your stated mandate? So let's say you're managing a fund, and you told your fund investors, your clients, that I'm going to run my fund as a value shop. I'm only going to buy value securities, which means that there may be short-term periods of underperformance as these securities sort of bottom out and start to move up to realize their full value. And maybe your clients say, okay, I like that idea, that sounds great, I'm familiar with value investing, I want in. But then when the going gets tough, and these investors actually see that your fund is down a bit, maybe down a lot, are they going to come knocking on your door and say, I want my money back, I want to take it somewhere else, I can't deal with your performance being down so much? So what has happened there? Well, either this investor never really understood your strategy to begin with, right? That's possible. A lot of people say they understand value investing, but there's a good chance they don't. And the second thing that might have happened is that their interests have changed. They no longer want to be value investors. They want out. This is not their cup of tea, right? So that's agency risk. Now, if you have a big client that shows up and asks for their money back, well, you have to liquidate the portfolio, a portion of it, if not all of it. And that drives underperformance because a lot of the securities that you bought in have not appreciated to their full potential, right? So your portfolio got truncated because your clients showed up asking for their money back. That's agency risk. You can't, how do you control for that? Well, the only way to control for that is to be as obvious and transparent and educational upfront as you possibly can in explaining a strategy and then identifying, potentially selecting the right types of clients who you are confident are not going to put you in a bad position that's going to basically kill your strategy, right? So that's agency risk. All of these things are very different from the last piece here, which is volatility, right? And that's volatility, standard deviation is what it's measured by. And that's the academic definition of risk because it is so mathematical, it is so nice, it's so easy to use. And so everybody wants to use it because it's easy to use. And you can program a machine to calculate these things. And so who cares about all those other types of risks? If you just call volatility your risk and program machines to figure out what your diversification is, what your portfolio volatility is, and try to minimize that, right? So that's a whole other approach. And I think, I made that reference a couple times, but it's if you go back to what we said earlier about machines starting to take over, the risk in that approach is that they are overly dependent on this academic definition of risk. And if those correlations and covariances, whatever they have been historically, the implicit assumption is that dynamic is going to continue, right? Because if it doesn't, then that whole model breaks down. And what tends to happen during financial crises, as you've seen in 2008, maybe a little bit last year, is during these financial crises, all these correlations basically align. All the correlations are one for all these different asset classes during that bad period. So the protection that you are hoping to get from diversification basically breaks down the very time that you need it during a crisis. So all that machine stuff might sound good, and I'm sort of a technologist, so I want the machines to be successful at some point. But in reality, that's sort of a limitation where are you comfortable parting in all of your control to a machine based on a historical model? And are you comfortable in the machine's ability to project these asset correlations going forward? So I don't know the answer to that. I'm not comfortable. I'm now cut out to be an active manager, right? So that means two things. One is volatility is not a complete definition of risk in my framework. All of these other things actually are what I would call investment risk. And I can, in fact, almost completely eliminate volatility as a risk factor for my portfolio if I invest with a long-term horizon. Because volatility, by definition, is a relatively short-term phenomenon. I don't care what short-term period you take, whether it's 1 day or a month or 2 years. It's still a relatively short-term period. If you are analyzing your investments with a longer-term perspective, then you can actually take advantage of volatility. Every time the security trades down, you could be buying it, right? And that, every time you're buying it, effectively you're buying it at a higher margin of safety, assuming your intrinsic value estimates haven't changed. So another slide, I think, on just comparing the academic view versus kind of the value investing philosophy. The academic view with the modern portfolio theory and capital asset pricing model basically implicitly assume that stocks are always efficiently priced. The market is always efficient, all the time, right? That's the working underlying assumption in those theories, and by making that assumption, it gives you a lot of convenience for mathematically processing a lot of these activities. So the question is, I think as individuals, we know that the markets are not always efficient. We know this. If you work in a tech company, if you worked on a project where you're excited about it, but you don't necessarily see it getting priced in the stock, and you're not getting credit for it in the stock, and you're dying to tell everyone, oh, you don't know what this is about. This is so great. Wait till you find out, right? So there is a mispricing in your mind. And there are lots of such mispricings, and this is exactly why value investing can take advantage of these market-driven assumptions embedded in sort of the academic view of risk and market efficiency. Because in the value investing paradigm, your working assumption is the markets are efficient over the long term. But they better be, because if they are not, then you can never realize your value, right? So that you keep that, but you challenge kind of the short-term premise. You say markets are not efficient in the short term. I know better. I know better because I'm doing work, uncovering information that the market simply doesn't have or doesn't know how to interpret. And so I have an advantage. That's arrogant, right? It's arrogant to say that you know something that the market doesn't. So that's why you have to be very careful. You have to do a lot of work to stress test your value thesis. But that's effectively what you do if you're value investing. So this is just, this is a little fun slide I threw in there. I think this is a clipping just from the California DMV website about safe driving, right? I think, as funny as it sounds, I think it is quite instructional. What this slide is basically saying, what the government is trying to tell you is, to be a safe driver, you got to look further out on the road, right? That should be obvious, but it needs to be written down. And you can sort of map that onto the investment world, right? Because if you're not looking further out, if you're only just looking where your bumper ends, then a couple things are going to happen. First, you're not going to be as confident about your driving because you basically don't know where you're going. And the second thing is you're going to have to make a lot of corrective actions with your steering actions. As new information becomes available about the road, whether there's a pothole, whether there's another car, whether there's a turn, you're going to have to make those high-frequency changes. And that's not going to be comfortable either for you or for your passengers, right? So you can map that into the stock market and say, okay, so if I'm not looking further out, then I have to deal with volatility, and I have to get comfortable with taking my entire investment portfolio through this volatility. But if I'm in fact taking a long-term view, then I can glide on top of that volatility and not worry about it, right? So that's I think the idea. And the other thing I want to point out here is, taking a long-term perspective doesn't mean that you hold your stock forever. Those are two very different things. You take a long-term perspective to figure out what the intrinsic values are and what your entry and exit points are for the stock. But if those values are achieved relatively quickly, there's nothing wrong with selling your investments and extracting your value, right? So I just wanted to make that clarification because we're not talking about holding stuff forever, at least not in the tech space. So here's the sort of my process. I sort of came up with with an acronym for it. The acronym is for safety, and basically it's sort of mapping the four things that I think drive margin of safety in technology investments. Two of these are what I would call behavioral. The ones that are shaded blue are more behavioral, and the ones that are shaded orange are much more fundamental or technical. They have to do with your capability to analyze things. So the first one is probably the easiest one, which is to figure out that the stock has materially underperformed over a certain recent time period, whatever the appropriate time period might be. Because that in itself starts to generate a level of margin of safety, because it says that people who are overly excited about something drove up the expectations for the security are now getting out of the stock. So that's great. Okay. The second part is where it starts to get tricky, because now you're trying to do valuation, but you can't do valuation in a vacuum, right? You're trying to identify a couple different types of valuation discrepancies. One is that the security is undervalued relative to itself, where it has historically traded, and it's undervalued relative to other comparable securities in its peer group. And to do any of that, you basically first have to estimate intrinsic value. So you first have to analyze the business. So it becomes a little bit of a recursive process between number 2, 3, and 4, and so that's kind of how these things are interconnected. But maybe at the face value, you can run a quick screen and see if there's potential for a valuation discount before you jump into 3 and 4, because 3 and 4 is where you're going to do a lot of the heavy lifting, because you're going to analyze the company, you're going to build a model, you're going to understand the products, the competition, and you're going to try to come up with a differentiated, unique view of why the security will outperform or underperform relative to its peer group. And then you feed it back into number 2 and see if the validation makes sense. Right? So those are effectively the 4 things that I think, if done properly, can help identify these lucrative investments.
I was lucky to have a conversation with Jeff Oven, familiar value add capital here. Yeah. He uses the same framework.
He does.
I mean, that's his current position in Microsoft. They were kind of being undervalued in 2010. They're in an point of inflection in their business, changing to this kind of whole SaaS delivery, and it's proven successful for that very concentrated position. I saw also Seth.
Yes.
Clark, he uses the same framework. So I guess what you're saying is that there's a considerable amount of alpha generation around hedge funds, or these hedge funds that take very concentrated proprietary positions that force some type of catalyst event on the board or however they do it, where there's great value to be had.
Yeah, and thanks for bringing that up. I think that's kind of one strategy, which is more of what I would call an activist strategy, where basically the next level of arrogance is that, okay, I know better than the management of this company, right? And so I'm going to tell them what to do. And I'm going to put increasing amounts of pressure over time so that they come around to my view, because then the assumption is that if they come around to my view, there's a higher likelihood that the underlying value in their stock price will be realized. Right? So that's kind of the next, but yeah, that's one
I think
strategy.
I would argue that the company's not the right shareholders, so they can change their shareholders.
Yeah.
But it goes back to institutional arbitrage, the value act, and own stuff, and make those changes, which a lot of mutual funds can't. Seth Klarman's a little bit of a oddity. You can't tell what he really owns. Most of his portfolio is in it's actually fixed income. It's not equity, so you see what he owns equity-wise, a very small portfolio. He likes to buy a lot of debt that is massively distressed, and often he uses that debt to take over the company. Well, he's doing a lot of stuff that most mutual funds can't do, which goes back to institutional arbitrage. So you can't invest like Seth Klarman unless you really understand the full capital structure and you can take control.
Got it. Well, and he's thinking like an owner.
Well,
I would say he's thinking like.
They all should be, regardless of what you do.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
So, question on the first step. I was just wondering, how do you think it contribute to momentum investor? Because even if you test the factors in the history, value is probably the first one, I mean, the biggest factor that works, but momentum is like the second one. So if you're doing that screening as the first step, you're basically doing the opposite.
Exactly.
Seeing as whatever, like if an investor really be momentum mover, then that's what you're thinking about.
Yeah, no, thanks for asking that question. I think the question is around momentum versus value. And I don't want to say that they're opposite. They might be just, they might be opposite, right? They might be or might not be at different times. But momentum is a strategy where you're effectively, I think, outsourcing some of the research work to some extent, because you're saying, okay, I like this manager X, I like the work he does. I'm just going to copy his positions, right? And you may have one X or you may have multiple such X's, and that may be the market price, right? So you're basically saying, I think I understand what these guys are doing and I trust them, I'm just going to follow them. So now, because I'm following them, I'm okay to give up the initial X amount of alpha, and I'll take the remainder, because I can get that basically going what I would call research light.
I think there's two types of investing. One is people who are just chasing stuff that's working, and I think that's how it performs over time. If you study what AQR, which is a hedge fund, what they do, it's actually a behavioral, taking advantage of behavioral failings of humans. That if you look over time, something has inflected and changed, and even though the information is out there, investors are slow to make that adjustment in their opinion of the stock as information has changed. So the momentum can outperform over time, and the AQR is probably the best thing for that. something that's changed in the market, but emotionally people have an opinion about a stock. We all know we change our opinion slowly over time, right? And they change their opinion slower than the data shoots out. So that type of movement has proven to be really successful over time. It's actually people that take advantage of behavioral theories.
Right, so thanks, Zach. So basically, like he said, the definitions are pretty broad. There's a lot of intersections. So I think I was addressing more the classic version of momentum, but there's a fancier version of momentum where you can actually take advantage of certain level of mispricing for behavioral reasons, right? So I think, so that's why you can never be sure when you're saying momentum or value exactly what is being done.
Definition is important.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people say value is cheap. Just good stock cheap isn't it's good value. So a lot of times people try to separate the market and say, this is the value part of the market, it's cheap, this is the expensive part of the market, and it's expensive. Sometimes in generalities, the valuation, we tend to be more correct that things are cheap, are good value, but it's not always the case.
Yeah, that makes an important point, which I don't have a slide on, but the point I want to make is the philosophy I'm presenting here for value is not necessarily based on a cheap stock principle. In other words, my definition of value investing, as I think Zach's is broad enough to encompass what is traditionally referred to as growth investing. Okay, but everything that we just talked about on the 4 factors with safety and rest of the discussion just becomes harder to execute with growth stocks because they fundamentally just trade in a different realm of valuation. So trying to figure out what level of valuation is actually a discount and where the euphoria has dissipated, all of those same activities just become more complicated and you have to be extra careful applying this framework to those types of high growth companies. But I invest in high growth companies, so does Zach, using a value style. So again, like he said, like I said, basically the definitions, just the terms don't tell you what the definitions are. You have to look for the definitions of what is being done underneath that strategy.
What's a resource or a book if someone new to behavioral type of investing you would recommend, very practical, maybe one could start kind of understand this whole new.
That's a good question. I don't know off the top of my head. I've learned it through a lot of different. There are some books that there is some recently written. I'm not sure if you got some.
Yeah, we can get you some recommendations.
Helter Skelter. I know there's some books. I've learned some Helter Skelter ways, but I know there's been some more books in these last few years that have really kind of recommended.
Yeah. I think that the best book I can think of is The Intelligent Investor, if you haven't read that. I mean, it's not specifically focused on behavioral, but it kind of draws out of the behavioral issue.
Yeah, value investing is very trying to take you rather than grand into it, not take away the emotional traps that you fall into. So if you really read what Grant is trying to teach you to do, you try to suck some of the emotional traps out of it.
Okay.
He's not how he put it, but that's it. What he was doing. And that's why I think he's successful. Some of the best value investors, obviously like Buffett. Buffett is probably a little bit of, he probably he's probably not a very emotional guy. Take his emotions completely aside and be completely rational. But most of them do this game. It's probably one of his biggest emotions.
All right, so on this slide, I think we're going to just round up some of the things we already talked about and make the point that I wanted to make again, which is that as tech professionals, you basically have a better chance of identifying alpha, uncovering alpha within the framework of value investing as we discussed. So I think this is just laying out the factors for why that is the case. I think the most important thing is, as you would agree, is technology changes very fast. You can't be out of touch with the market and claim that you understand the stock because you understood it 2 years ago or even 6 months ago, right? Things change very fast. So if you're not in the flow and if you don't have a mental model to absorb and interpret that information, then you're not on top of things. This is why technology is hard for generalists to understand. Generalists are people who look at all the different sectors, right? And there are some tech stocks that are more like I don't know, like consumer staples or some other defensive stocks. So those would be easier to understand because their business models don't change, the products don't change, they have good management, and you can sort of, try to find mispricing. Usually, rarely, but you can still try to find that within those names. But a lot of tech is kind of what I would call the hairy names, so there's always some kind of a problem, regardless of whether you can see it or not. And so it takes a huge amount of effort to do that, which, investors on average, I've found, are just not ready to commit. And that could be a process issue where you just don't have a process that says that you need to go through this exercise before you make an investment. Or even if you had a process, you may just not have the right type of resources. I mean, if you look at who these funds hire or like to hire, they are usually the younger candidates that have relatively less experience, either in the industry or in finance. And you can sort of, I'll leave that with you to interpret. Because the idea is generally these guys, the big funds, want to take in younger candidates and train them through their philosophy, whatever that is. Right? Whether it's working or not is something you have to judge. But there are some structural issues here that support this finding. And this is really what creates, I think, an advantage for technology professionals. And I don't think any of this has necessarily been presented like this before. Yeah.
So why is it in, what's the advantage then? So,
well, I mean, I think there are some case studies later on which we can talk about. I think we're sort of running out of time. Very happy to follow up. I think you have to take individual case studies of stocks. When you take IBM, it's a classic example because Warren Buffett actually invested in it, and it's so far underwater after 5 years, right? So I think that I think he's right, but you can argue whether he was a little too early in making that investment. I own IBM as well, but I got in pretty late, just very recently. So I think what happens is there's a technology change going on. In the case of IBM, they're moving to the cloud, and there's a lot of noise around whether they're doing the right type of cloud, whether they will be successful. Because what you get to see in the market is a lot of chaos. You get to see IBM shedding employees, the employee morale is very low. There's a lot of people that are naysayers, and they're talking down the stock. So going through all of that and getting to the core of the issue and proving to yourself, convincing yourself that they're going to get out of this in a reasonable time frame, and that's going to lift the stock, I think is a very difficult process. And I'm sure Buffett had good help. I think generally, I think that having a technologist helping you navigate through these situations obviously would be easier. But there's a cost always. If you're specialized like I am in technology, then I'm going to stay away from other situations which are non-tech, right? So then you have to take a more specialized strategy to invest in certain types of companies that you are comfortable, that you understand and can predict where they're going. And again, if you look at Buffett's approach, he's done kind of something similar.
So I know you're trying to wrap up, but I just really want to grab onto that for a second.
Sure.
I've seen that play out a little bit from where I sit on more of the activist side of the house.
Yeah.
Because we're driving a shorter term result. But on the value side, that's the question mark, right? So to me, it's like, so it seems like there has to be, if I'm the technologist moving into the space to bring this value, there has to be this sort of philosophical connection, which you're saying isn't necessarily there yet, the larger institutions.
Yeah, it's not there, because if it was, then you would see a very different approach to doing things, starting from hiring and training, and you would start to see these professionals show up in a very different way, ask different types of questions. Because a lot of the work that I've been doing, if you read my book, basically there are some conferences that I've listed there. I've never seen any journalist investor showing up at any of those conferences. At those conferences, I have the same companies that we're covering are presenting, and there's lots of information that is available for public consumption. Yet the investors, some of the top holders, are not there. What are they doing?
I do see, so for instance, I'm in the tech space, component tech space. I do see private investors there. For instance, I was at OFC in Irvine, and I saw a lot of venture capitalists there. I saw a lot of people from Co2 management there. So I do see in the private investors that they are very specialized, get very into the details in making relationships with key decision makers in these organizations.
Yeah, my style of doing things. There are a few people who do that, I think, but it's very hard to find these people at these tech events, which is where I think some of the insights are actually.
Well, I think that's why they have you see these particular funds have outsized returns consistently.
Exactly. There you go. But there's a patient period, waiting period.
Yeah.
Right? If you're learning something at these conferences, it's usually not something that's going to play out tomorrow or the next month. Right?
But I only see, like I said, I only see either some type of large private equity, LBO type of firm there, or venture capital. I've never seen like a Franklin Templeton.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking
Good
about.
point.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm going to skip through some of this stuff. I think it's a little repetitive. There's a slide on what's proprietary insights, and I think in my definition of proprietary is just anything for which you have to work hard to distill the information, like showing up at a conference, talking to industry experts, building your own models. Proprietary is not something that you find readily available on the internet that you just piece together and call your own, right? Usually, proprietary insights are not just lying around on the internet. That's something you have to work for. And I just want to make a distinction that there's a whole other territory of what's referred to as material non-public information. That's not what we're referring to here as proprietary insights, because that's MMPI is illegal. You can't be in possession. You certainly can't trade on that stuff. You can't give it to other people. So that's a whole other territory. What we're referring to here, some of the examples are on the slide. This is information that you can work and uncover if you have the right background. So there are some case studies which, if you're interested, you can follow up offline. It seems like we're running out of time. Just again to, basically show that the process works. So here's kind of where I'm going. I've published a book. I have a few copies today. I'm happy to sell it to you at a discount. I'm working on a second book. Potentially might be better geared for teaching a class, depending on the right level of interest. I mentioned earlier I'm working on industry analysis, custom analyses. So if you have interest in engaging on any of that, I want to welcome you to do that. And basically, I'm on a path at some point to get into asset management. I'm not there yet because my philosophy of this is that it has to be built on a very robust platform of research, which is what I'm putting together. And then career changes. If anyone, even if you don't want to change careers, you just have questions, because I went through this process. I just want to welcome you to interact and have a discussion. I'm very available to do that. This is the class I mentioned. I have a blog. If you want to, probably the best way to stay in touch, you just sign up for the updates. I have a few copies of the book. If you're interested, I'll be hanging out here. I'll give it to you at a big discount. And it comes with 1 hour one-on-one with me. So in case that is of interest, we can do that. The workbook is coming. This is something that will be filled with case studies, ideal for driving group discussions, just as an applied equity research type of program. That's the idea.
And can I share some of those latter slides?
Please, yeah. Feel free to distribute these slides. They're all there for your. We didn't talk about mistakes. Nobody asked me about mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes. We can talk about them at some point. That's it. Thanks very much.